Hello, welcome back to my journey through rookies in iRacing. This week is week 2, we're at Winton Motor Raceway. This time I've had to think about what I want to do and I've set myself some targets. I've set myself some season targets, safety rating 3, iRating of 1500, but each week I'd like to finish in the top 5 and at least get a net gain of safety rating and iRating. You know the drill. So this is the track at Winton. It's a reasonable track. I quite enjoy driving it, and so did okay in qualifying. So this is the cockpit view for my qualifying lap. I made a few mistakes on this lap, but overall I was fairly happy with it. Trying to stay tight on these corners, tight through the apex. Could have got a bit tighter there, but I've always struggled a bit on this corner. And you can see I kind of like turned twice on that corner and it was not smooth, so I think I've got a few tenths I can gain on that corner. And also this complex here, from the left-hander to the right-hander, again not the best corner, and it's an important exit that, because this back straight can set you up for the kind of S-bend through into the final straight. Trying to stay out wide on the left and then cut in on the right. Braked a little bit too much and turned a bit too early, so scrubbed some speed off there that I could have saved, but ultimately it was a decent qualifying lap. So we're starting 3rd on the grid with a fairly average qualifying lap. I know that I'm somewhere similar to the rest of the field. So we're off to a decent start. Obviously pole wasn't, but there we go. Blue car tries to squeeze himself through the gap. Takes out himself and the pole sitter in one fell swoop, which is good for me and the 2 cars in front of me. So still sitting in 3rd, but off to a reasonable start. I'm always careful on the first lap because of the cold tyres, especially in rookies. You see a lot of people spinning out, and I've done it enough times on that first lap on every track, I think, pretty much. It's easy done. Best thing to do, I've found, is just take it easy on that first lap. I've never really had the problem of being in pole on the on the starting grid, so it's possible to take it a little bit easier when you're a couple of places back down the field, because you can hold people up and everybody gets a bit held up on that first section. So I've got the light blue car behind me kind of trying to chase me down. Already this is looking like it might be a good battle between myself in 2nd and 4th place. Just hoping I can do something to finish on the podium. But remember, the target is top 5, so he's having a look at the inside there, wasn't he? But wasn't quite brave enough to go for it, and that's good for both of us, because if he hadn't pulled out, he'd have probably taken us out. So here we've got the view for him chasing me down. I've caught up the dark blue car in front, so both myself and 4th place are a bit faster than the guy in 2nd, so fingers crossed that we can get ahead of him at this point. I took it well wide there. That was a foolish mistake, so I've lost a bit of time on the 2nd place car, and 4th has gained some time on me. So at this point I'm just hoping he doesn't bomb down the inside on this corner. I've seen way too many people try it on that corner, and they just come from too far back. So I'm chasing down the blue car now. Has a bit of a wobble there, so I'm thinking, hey up, maybe that's a corner I can have a go at in future laps. Just got to try and keep myself close up behind him, and then I fluff that corner. Unfortunately for me, he goes off the track there. So I get to sneak in front and he now has to deal with the light blue car. So I've got now a blocker between me and the light blue car that was potentially a little bit faster. He was certainly quicker through some of the corners. But the blue car's doing a good job of holding him back a little bit there, I think. It can be frustrating when you're stuck behind a car that's marginally slower than you, because ultimately, in order to make an overtake stick, you have to get a good run on them, and if they're only slightly slower than you, it can be really tricky to get past them, and this track is not a happy place to overtake, I've found. It's fairly narrow, you spend a lot of time turning. There's only a couple of places really where you can get a good run on someone and safely overtake, sort of guaranteed. So you can see the cars behind having a good old battle there, the two blue cars. But I'm managing to stay out in front. So far on track to hit the target in this race. Incidentally, I'm giving myself 4 races each week, ideally, to try and hit my weekly target. So what it does mean is if I get a good position, like top 5, maybe even podium in the first couple of races, then what I've been tending to do is just get out on the practice and try and develop my skills, rather than go out on the track in races and not give myself the training time that I need, because I'm very much a beginner, and I do pick things up quickly, but it takes a while to get past that kind of beginner's plateau. So I'm quite keen to train myself to be better rather than just race. Racing's fun, but it is quite enjoyable, just focusing on specific skills or specific sections of track, types of corners. So I'm enjoying the training as much as I am the racing, to be honest. One thing that surprised me about racing is the adrenaline dump. Now I'm quite prone to getting big dumps of adrenaline anyway. I'm probably not unusual in that sense, because I'm a bloke, but to the point where it makes me shake, like my legs shake and my hands shake, and I used to think it was fear, but it is just that I get such a massive rush of adrenaline. And back in my younger days, I used to play rugby, and most of the times that I've put myself in positions where I've had a massive adrenaline spike, I've had a means to burn it off. I can actually physically do something, but when you're sat in a seat, your feet are pretty much fixed against the pedals and your hands are locked on the wheel. There's not really anything to do physically. There's no outlet. So I've really tried to focus on mind management as well in my training to keep myself calm and try to avoid the shakes. Now this battle between these two cars was really interesting. The light blue car clearly quicker and clearly frustrated, but dark blue car managing to hang on in there, car number 11. Light blue, every corner he seems to be looking for a spot to overtake. Maybe have a look at this in more depth in the highlight reel. for every lap that goes by and every corner he has to brake early on and avoid dinging into the back of the number 11. He's just going to get more and more frustrated. And that was a big break from the number 11 there. I don't think he really needed to brake that much. He braked more than I do on that corner. I brake quite a lot. So you can see the car behind is, I don't know, I think I'd be quite frustrated at this point behind him. I was getting a little bit frustrated behind the car number 11 earlier on in the race, so I'm fairly sure the car in P4 is a little bit quicker than the both of us, so I imagine he's getting a little bit narky at this point. So 11 goes to defend the inside, doesn't realise that car number 2 has done him on the outside, and yeah, racing incident, I would say. A foolish racing incident, because they could have avoided that. Now we've got probably quite an upset car number 2, because car number 11 hasn't lost any places. He managed to get out just in time, but now car 2's in 5th, I think. So here's me just pootling around on my own, which is not a bad thing necessarily. I've just got to put some consistent laps in. I know there's a possibility that if the car in front of me makes a mistake, or it makes a serious mistake anyway, I could potentially get up to him and get past him, because I'm not a million miles behind him. But I know at this point I've just got to be consistent, and I've achieved target. I've finished on the podium. Well, there you go. Car number 2. Straight into the back of the 11 car after the line at the end of the race. I'll never understand nonsense like that. And there we go. So a pretty successful race for me as far as I'm concerned. Managed P2 in the end. So yeah, well chuffed with that. Increased my safety rating, increased my iRating. Strength of field was 1247. So in terms of week 2, I've managed to improve my position. So I've finished in the top 5, so I've achieved target there. And my iRating and safety rating have both gone up at the end of week 2 versus week 1. So I'm happy with that. So let's get on to some highlights. Fewer crashes in these highlights. I was quite pleased. I managed to find some interesting battles instead. I say some, an interesting battle, but it did end in entertaining fashion. So the number 3 car there had a right paddy with the number 7 car, telling him that he'd jump started and he wrecked him, and it was intentional. And I suppose the lesson to learn there is check the replay before you start mouthing off about something. So the 7 car, he's just driving his line. The 3 car goes bombing up the inside, bounces off the curb, and actually starts to go wide and crosses over in front of the 7 car marginally. So you could say it's a racing incident, but as far as that 7 car is concerned, from the cockpit view, that number 3 car will have come out of nowhere and appeared on his inside. So that is not the 7 car's fault, in my view. You could potentially argue it's not the number 3 car's fault as well, but that was a overly optimistic effort. Now there, the 11 car runs wide and gives me that opportunity to get through. Well chuffed with that, because overtaking on this track's horrible. Well, it's for me anyway. There's probably drivers out there that don't find it as difficult as I do, but there you go. This was a really good battle between 2 and 11 at this point anyway. So So one thing I noticed about these two cars is that 11 is defending well. He's just fast enough and just making himself wide enough to defend. One thing the number 2 car was doing, which would have wound him up, was he wasn't reading the car number 11 on the corners. And this is just something I've learned from watching this. If you watch what happens with the 2 car, he's sneaking up there faster and then having to slow down because there's nowhere to overtake. So instead of maintaining a smooth pace, he's concertinaing up close and then at distance because he's having to overbrake. So he's making life difficult for himself, and what he's doing is increasing the distance for the opportunities. So then when he does get an opportunity, he doesn't make enough of it and ends up crashing. Now that was kind of a racing incident, but they could have avoided that. But that, in my view, was caused by the number 2 car's impatience. He was getting up close when there wasn't an overtaking opportunity, which meant he then had to drop back when there was. So he came from too far, and then at the end of the race to do that, what a child, really. Thanks for watching. See you next time.